sure that you're going to be one of the attendees, one of several thousand people that'll be at our next international convention, which is going to be in Long Beach, California, and it's going to be in March of next year. So it's going to be a couple of months earlier next year. So hopefully each and every one of you guys will get a chance to attend. But before you hear from the first speaker today, a gentleman that's making a name for himself in the company, Mr. Alan Richardson, uh, I want to say this from what I've learned in my 21 years in network marketing uh, is this. One of the things I found to be true is that you grow the most and your belief goes to the highest level when you attend an international convention. And do me a favor, I want to make sure I'm talking to the right audience. Put a five in the chat if you would not take a person serious. If they told you, I want to be a medical doctor, but I don't plan on going to medical school. Put a five in the chat if you would not take that person serious. Okay. Put a three in the chat if you would not take a person serious. If they tell you, I want to be a practicing attorney, but I don't plan on going to law school. I'm just going to go in there and just make an argument. I would not take that person serious. I would not want that person representing me in court. Okay. Well, you got to look at that the same way as far as your business in 7K Mellors. When you go to the international convention, it's like I'm a doctor and I'm honing my skills to be a better medical doctor because the international convention is my medical school. I'm an attorney and I'm honing my skills to be a better, I want to be known as a racehorse Haynes, whatever, some of the best attorneys in the world. And that's why I'm going to make sure I go to law school. And so it is, ladies and gentlemen, as far as your business. I remember my first company, and I see about little under half of you that are on here today was actually at the International Convention. I enjoy getting a chance to spend time with you, and hopefully your belief went to a whole nother level about what was shared. But I see an incredible couple on here, Billy and Cynthia Cook, and I was blessed. They were my first top business partners that I ever recruited in my first network marketing company over 20 years ago. I mean, they went out there, they broke records, they hit a rank even faster than what I did, and so they know about. I mean, my first company they they really emphasized the international convention, and the top leaders and top earners, they were always at those international conventions. And not only were they there, but they made sure they had double-digit people on that team at that convention because that was the secret. But here's what they would oftentimes share, and I'm going to share this with you guys, and you're going to hear me say this over and over again. I mean, the top leaders would always say they had videos, and they would say this. They would say, listen, if you have not been to an international convention, you are not in the business yet. And I'm going to say that again. If you haven't been to a 7K Metals International Convention, and we only had one a year, that other company, we had four a year, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, so that was something that was drilling us time and time again. But 7K Metals, they do it once a year. We have 1,000 to 3,000 people at an international convention. And again, the people that attend there, they're the top producers for the next convention. And they would tell you and say, hey, listen, if you haven't been to an international convention, you are not in the business yet. And you're going to hear me say that over and over again. So you got to do whatever you got to do. I mean, sacrifice. There are many of you that attended, and I know your story. I know what sacrifice you made. I mean, there were people that talking about sleeping in their car just so they can get there. There were people that slept four, five, six in a room just to get that information. But I know what that kind of sacrifice pays off because one of the laws that John Maxwell talks about in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, he calls it the law of the sacrifice. And the law of the sacrifice basically states a leader must give up in order to go up. And if you ever want to make a sacrifice that will have the highest impact on your business, make sure you're at the next international convention in Long Beach in the month of March of next year. Because again, no other sacrifice has a greater impact on your business than being at that convention. I mean, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, they used to tell us in my first company, if you haven't been to the national convention, you are in the company, but the company's not in you. And so, and I'm gonna let you guys in on a secret. Everybody that's hit the silver rank in 7K Metals, and they're consistently making money. They're not just in 7K Metals. 7K Metals is also inside of them. And if you want to have that kind of impact, if you want to have that kind of conviction about your business, Whereas you make the kind of money you want to make and you start living the kind of lifestyle you want to live, I encourage you, make sure you do whatever you got to do to be at the next international convention because it's going to be amazing. There was several new information that we heard. We got access to coins that we couldn't get access to if we wasn't there. But rather than me just go on talking about how that convention impacted my life, I want you to hear from a few people today that was at the international convention and the impact that it already had on their life and what they're experiencing right now. The first gentleman is a top producing copper associate. Uh, have the utmost respect because he made the sacrifice and he served our country honorably. And he's been on board with the company now about 4 years, but in that time, he's impacted hundreds of lives for the better. Help me welcome to the Zoom top producing copper associate, Mr. Adam Richards. If you would, take it away, sir.
Tony, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alan Richardson out of Pine Bluffs, Wyoming. What I learned at the convention, exclusively from Adiba Thompson. Let me see. Tony, can I share my screen real quick?
Yes, sir. You can share your screen.
Let me make sure I get to the right one because I have a few things open. Let's see. Should be this one here. Okay. Can everybody see this correctly? Gold yesterday closed at $3,200 and actually $3,288, right? But what I think about at the 5 years, November, I've been in 5 years. If I would have left $1,000 back then when it was $1,699, what would I have? A little bit more buying power. Anyway, that's just a little bit. But what I learned at the convention this last time, after Salt Lake City the first time, Vegas twice, in the new fields that I'm breaking into with the chamber in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and, well, TikTok as well, trying to find the right-minded people. And what I mean by that is when we bring up gold and silver, some people just check out because what I'll say is the doctrination of history. People have told me, well, Alan, gold and silver will not have any buying power. And I'm like, hold on a second. It's been that powerful for the last 5,000 years. Why is it doubled in the last 5 years? And what's the future look like with it? So what I do is I watch not only this every day and I buy during the dips, but I'll turn around and I'll go to Kitco and watch some of the videos about what's going on in the market. But then, and I'm going to do a little bit more in that space, but when you go to a convention, what is so powerful about that is nobody's trying to flex about making money like Tony does in Chris. What I loved about meeting Chris the second time, this time around, the culture of 7K Metals is one of the things I love. When some of the other leaders on stage are on talking, some people will remove themselves from the audience. Well, I went to the bathroom and turned around and I heard somebody say something I didn't want to hear, but I knew that they were in. And I grabbed Chris, as we're veterans, and I said, hey, Chris, can I talk to you real quick by yourself? And he was with his wife. And he said, yeah, sure. And we went outside and I talked to him about 5 minutes just to get it off my chest. And he said, nope, don't even worry about it, Alan, because you know what we're here for, about helping people, helping people. When he told me that, it reminded me why I love 7K Metals, is because if it wasn't for 7K Metals, everybody, I want you to listen to this very carefully. When it was introduced to me, I didn't have any idea what could happen or who I would meet in the networking areas in the last 4.5 years. And if it wasn't for this man right under me, Tony Hubbard, Ray Patterson, and a few other people that I've met at other conventions, I wouldn't have stayed in the game. We have a willingness to grab people where they're at, to pull them up, not push them down. And I don't know how to make that message any clearer than knowing that when I call Tony, he answers my call either in 5 seconds or less. And if he's busy doing on a Zoom call, he gives me 15 minutes of time to just hear what I'm trying to accomplish. And he knows I'll figure it out. But when the convention was going on, what I loved about it is I have a partner in California who, with his 401k, called me up before the convention and said, I think you're right. I should put it in the gold-backed IRA that you have, because that's why I signed up. But my 401k just lost $300,000. And I said, timing is everything. And what I mean by that is when the student wants to listen, the teacher will show. And as we've talked to other people, a list of some of the networking spaces that we have, some people don't want to stay and listen. And that's okay. But it's about turning around, like I learned from Adiba Thompson, was the field that we're in. If this field isn't working, go to another field, take the lessons that we learned in this one to make this one better. So, sometimes in the game, you have to change the game. You don't necessarily have to change the entire game, but if you ever played chess before, you want to make sure that you're protecting all of your pieces, not just one or two of them. The other part that I turn around and I love about it is if I look at my autosaver that I get if I do the American Invention Series. If I went to JM Bullion and I bought this coin right here, to pull it out from here, I would turn around and have to check out for $45 before they even ship it to me. But in my, where is it at? My dashboard in silver, I can pay $42 and have it sent to me if I want to have 12 ounces of silver sent to me. But if I look at getting this coin here, then signing up for NGC, and this is $329 a year just to roll the dice to get an MS-70 coin, and then everything in our collections are guaranteed MS-70 coins. So with the partnerships that 7K has made with this mint right here, CIT Mint, this mint right here made all of Miles Standish coins. Not all of them, but the bigger ones, like we have, the Arizonas. All of those coins that Miles Standish, when he introduced this to 7K Metals, and they said, we'll make your projects, when I can't wait to hold that baseball coin. Oh my gosh. Another mint turned around and told Miles Standish that he'd never be a coin designer. Imagine if we would all believe everybody that told us that we would never be able to do what we do. Where would we be at? And this is one of the things I love about Tony, is this part right here is what he does with the mentoring of turning around. And this one right here is the Albert Guest. It couldn't be done. So he'll say that later today, but I'm not going to turn around and I read that a couple of times a day. In the space of what they do in getting into 41 countries around the world, it's not here just for the American people. It's here for everyone around the world. And what we're doing in the space of that. And then the next piece I'm going to show is the partnership with VaultMax. Okay. VaultMax, you can go to VaultMax on your own. You scroll down here, and this is what you're going to have to pay more every year. So if you have a large amount, you're going to have to start up with $800 per year, $80 per month. With a membership for $600, none of those fees are there. So they just, like, the umbrella company of that, for what I understand, what 7K is building is all of what we have available for. And some new members that they've grabbed a membership for $150. I'm explaining to them everything is there, right? It's an umbrella company. Okay. The other space of that is Stack and Sell. What I love and don't like about it right now is when they came out with this 3 years ago, this is a place to protect the market. And we see that there are people out there that are either lack of education or a space of turning around and understanding what a collectible coin is actually valued at in a space of some of these coins. So at the end of the day, if you're in this to win it, take some of that time management that you do. I would not recommend turning around and doing it like I did in 2022 when I spent over 100 hours on the IRS Dub website, understanding a little bit more on tax laws. Now, the tax people, if they would have given me the right information, they'd be great. But I currently kind of don't like them right now because a lot of the wrong information. And what I mean by that is it says right on the IRS Gov on the website, if you buy something as promotional material for your business, it's tax write-off. So this is an autosaver with the Wyoming label because I just love that bucking horse. Guaranteed $115. If I would have turned around and bought that one for $55, have it shipped to me, paid for a membership from NGC, even for a lower one, I would have to pay to ship this, insure it, send it. They would turn around and grade it, right? And then I would have to pay the shipping and the insurance of what it was worth to get it back. So you see how 7K has changed the game in that space. Is literally these autosavers are so affordable right now because a lot of folks know that. And that's the little bit deeper of the understanding of how it works. Okay. But I want everybody to understand that when we're here to win, it's making sure that everybody is winning, not just one person at the top. And I'm going to close it down by that because my Adderall's kicking in and I could talk hours and hours and hours.
Hey, Alan, show the savings on the eyewear.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that, Tony. Yeah. So guys, I went down and am I muted? Okay, no. I went and got glasses yesterday. Okay, and I remember, so I hadn't got glasses since 2023. I was working in the oil field. And so if you can see this, let me get the lighting up here a little bit. Okay, so let me get, is there a bigger screen option or is this big? Let me know, everybody.
We can see that. We can see that.
Oh, so you see here on the left, right? It's like 900. There we go. I can see myself now. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we got over here with no insurance because 7K offers 7K Protect. After I get done with this, I'll show you where you're going to find that. Okay. So 7K with no with no vision insurance, it would have cost me $939 for glasses. Now I'm waiting for the receipt for my glasses that I got in 2023 because when she opened up my insurance and then gave me, oops, I'm knocking stuff over, gave me this one, she was like, "What insurance do you have?" And I was like, VPS. She's like, "You don't have the regular VPS." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then she gave me the number of the breakdown that this is almost 15% less than what W2 vision insurance gives. Did I make that make sense?
Say it again.
So when she showed me what I was going to pay here, she said that this insurance right here, she's never seen that from like other employers that even have VPS. So there's a 7K with $23 a month for vision insurance, saved me another 15%. So when she showed me the other price that I paid for my glasses back in 2023 when I was working for an employer, it was $550, but my 7K insurance dropped it down to $397.
That's a beautiful thing.
I can't complain. Okay. So where do we go find that? Where do we go find that real quick? Go back to sharing my screen. Go to this one right here. Is you go to your dashboard, you look at your member benefits, You scroll all the way down here and it's vision health, and it's called 7K Protect. And it's going to open up this health. You enroll today, enroll whenever, actually, because one thing I love about it the best is there's no pre-diagnosed conditions, and there's also no enrollment wait time. So when you turn around, you're talking and going and walking into an employer and wanting health care, you got to work for them for 90 days, 60 days, sometimes 60 days, 90 days. There's no enrollment time window for 7K Metals if you have an active account. I'm pretty sure you got to be active or at least have an account. I'm trying to figure that out too. So you go through, and this is where you're going to do all your vision stuff, your summaries, what this covers and everything like that. Life insurance. Some of this life insurance right here is not offered in all states. Just recognize that. It's not recognized in Wyoming. I'm working on talking to them about that. You got all your rates, prices right here in your brochures. Well, wait a minute. Telebark. Anybody have a dog? Anybody got pets?
I think it's about a third of the people in the company got pets, man.
So a third of the people that got pets, well, we got to cover the pets too, right? So we got Telebark for $40 a month. My dog Cinnamon is going to be under this like probably next week, actually. But so you see how that umbrella works, folks. I mean, if we're not getting excited about this, I know I'm not talking to the wrong people, right? But like, let's figure out, and this is what I started introducing people to. I've told new people, hey, all I'm going to turn around and do is show you how you can turn around and build your own franchise. You do whatever you want to do. You grab an account, you learn what we talked about over the last 20 minutes. You get access to everything. And that's more than just gold and silver at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. I love gold and silver, but the one thing I like is better protection than utilizing, I'll say it like this, my bank, because they don't give me anything like this when I put money in and give them money, right? Does anybody's bank do that? The answer is no, because I've already done the research for you. Anyway, so that's where I'm going to shut it down, Tony. I love you, bud.
All right, do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen, put a 3 in the chat if you got something from the information Mr. Allen Richardson shared with you guys, especially on the fact that now Fido can get coverage too. It's a beautiful thing. When we can hook up Fido, and Rex and all of those guys, it's a beautiful thing. All right. The next gentleman I want you guys to hear from, I don't know if he's missed any events since he's been on board here at 7K Metals over 8 years. This gentleman, I've seen his growth over the last 8+ years. Here's a guy that's an introvert that and just so you guys know, if you're an introvert, you're that person that can be in a room with 20 people and you're cool if you don't never say anything. Uh, it is getting further outside your comfort zone for you to get up on to do a presentation, number one, to do one in front of a small group and definitely do one in front of a large group. You've got to grow as a leader to do that, and it's a lot harder as an introvert. But this gentleman is an introvert that has spoken now in front of hundreds and even thousands of individuals since he's come on board in 7K Metals. Help me welcome to the Zoom to share with you guys what he learned from our international convention. Top producing bronze associate, my man, Mr. Joseph Lattin. Take it away, sir.
Hey, thank you, Tony. I appreciate you giving me a few minutes to share. The events for me have always been something that, each one gets a little bit better. And, so I appreciate you. I appreciate all you've done to help me to get to this point, because you're right. Back in the beginning, when I joined, I was a lot more introverted than I am now. And I really, was just kind of in the background watching. And I'm going to share my screen here too. And this thing I want to show you is I got a few photos from the event. And this one is, Roger and Marcia. And, when I first started in 7K, one of the first events I attended was the 7K launch. And that's where I met Roger for the first time. Had a really nice conversation with him, and I've seen him at every event that I've been to since then. It's just so much fun being able to hang out with him and talk to him about different things, all different areas, and his knowledge. I mean, he's so smart when it comes to business, when it comes to networking. I've learned so much from him over the years, and so being around the people when you go to these events, starting with Roger, I mean, he's super successful in business. you know, the things that he's taught us. He did a breakout session this time, was the first time. So we got to hear from him during the breakout session, different stories. I'm pretty sure that every breakout session was a little bit different, but he shares stories of how he got to where he is. And so being around Roger, being around Marcia, being able to hang out with people like this, it's really life changing. You learn so much. And Curtis Harlan did a breakout session, amazing information on how he's grown a team. He's one of the top earners in the company. To be able to spend time with Blake and Richard, these guys, Blake's a genius when it comes to marketing. He's really done an amazing job taking 7K from where we were in the beginning with no promotional material or anything to where we are now with this whole marketing team and everything. And Richard, again, Richard has been he's been very influential in my life when it comes to 7K. And even in this contest, we got some time to sit and talk, and I was asking him for some pointers. He gave me some great information on, how to go about this contest, with the Founders Getaway, because this is something I really want to do, is to go back to there. We learned some new stuff, right? So we've got some new gold notes coming. We've got to hear from Tom and Gail. This is stuff that, we don't see them on the Monday webinars, or, when we're not at these events, we don't really have access to them and the information. And Tom and Gail, we're coming out, we're starting in June, the new Gold Note series, and it's amazing. Tom and Gail are amazing people. We get to, share time with them as well. This is something that, again, has been life-changing. I was never really an art person before I met Tom, but he showed me details in these notes, and he's, explained where his vision comes from to create these amazing works of art. And now I'm a collector of his artwork, not just the coins, but the prints and, the books that they have, everything. And so being able to hang around with these folks and share time with them, bond with them, it's amazing. I can't wait for the Sphere of Light, right? Who's excited for that? When they get this building, I'm pretty sure they said they're starting construction in August. They've already been working on building the panels and stuff for these. Okay, so you get time with people, and we got something that I don't even know if they've announced this on the Monday webinar. So Tony, if I'm jumping the gun on this, I apologize. But everybody on here, we've got new coins coming. And this is, if you look at this coin, it's hard to see the detail because of my photo, but this is a new set of coins that's coming with the universe, or the 7 pillars of humanity. And each of the 7 notes is going to be made into a coin as well. All right. And this first coin was released. We actually got to get them autographed and everything from Tom and Gail. So this is a set. This is something we learned at the convention. Like I said, they always bring new stuff. The coin drops were absolutely amazing this time. This coin that was released, being able to see Andy and, hear about the work that's still going on today, even after Miles is gone, and being able to get this coin was just, it was so much fun. That coin drop, they sold out fast. But if you weren't at the event, you're not getting a first day issue, right? You didn't get to, I got to hold Miles' glove. That's the glove that was used in the design of the coin, right? Things like this. They actually got his photo on the coin throwing out the first pitch at the Cubs game. We got to hear the whole story, everything that goes behind the coin. This is priceless. This is unforgettable stuff that you can't get anywhere else but at these events. Okay. The other thing is we're now able to make our own coins. These are a couple of designs that I just, threw together while we were at the event. But being able to design our own coins, this is huge, right? This is it gives us another benefit that we're able to share with people. And this was released. The people that were at the event get to do the beta testing of this, right? This hasn't been released to everybody yet, but it's going to be really soon. And this is something that's going to be a game changer for us. The other thing is the people. We see these people, Amy and Joe, they've been on our webinars. They're super supportive of legacy builders. They're growing their teams. You get to hang out with them, right? You get to actually spend time and share, different stories with them. It's an amazing time to be able to share with friends and family as well. And I'm going to touch on that in a minute. This is a photo that, my wife and Tim Schmalbach. Now, Tim's a pretty tall guy, right? This is the real photo. This is what we were actually doing. Okay. So I had a lot of fun with this. And, the time spent with my brother, Tony Hubbard. Tony's been so, like his influence on me in the networking space, I just can't even describe it. To be able to get up and do presentations, be able to come on here and just share my story, right? This is something I wasn't able to do in the beginning. He helped me step by step. Now, I tried to get to silver before this event. Okay. I didn't make it, but I was there to, clap for my friend Tony, to clap for all the other people that have made this success, because I know that they're going to be there when I cross that stage as a silver to clap for me, right? Get to spend time with my brother and his wife. And this is something we've been able to do for 8 years now, not just at the 7KX, but at the getaways and the different events we've had, like the lightning tour, things like this. So this time that you get with family, friends, the co-founders, you just learn so much. There's so much great energy. Generally, when I come out of these events, and it happened again this time, I signed somebody up within the first 3 days of getting home. Okay. And that's because your energy level it rises to a new level. Your faith in 7K is reaffirmed. Okay. It's something that, we all believe in 7K. The second we, click that button and enroll, but our faith gets just reaffirmed. It puts you ahead in your business. And like Tony said, if you're not showing up at these events, you're not working your business. And this is something I know, I've been self-employed for a long time, and going to these events, getting the personal development, learning from all the co-founders and the different leaders here within 7K that have been successful. Madiba, he smashed it in the contest. It was amazing. Got some time to spend with him. So this is all I wanted to stress. I just wanted to, thank Tony again for, letting me get a picture with the Mustang. That was really a lot of fun. It was great seeing, family, friends, all the different people there. And I'm already looking forward to the next event. I do have my tickets already for the March event. I've got my tickets for the getaways also. That's where they announced the getaway. I was able to, secure rooms, and those are selling out fast. I see a couple of the rooms have already sold out. So if you're thinking about the getaway, you definitely want to lock that in. If you haven't bought your tickets for the March event, I definitely recommend lock it in. One of the things as entrepreneurs is we make the commitment, and then we figure out how we're going to make it happen, right? And this is something you've got to do. So I recommend you click that button, get your tickets, lock it in, figure out how you're going to be in Long Beach in March. We are going to have so much fun there. Like I said, every year this gets better and better, and I can't expect that, March 2026 is going to be any different. So Tony, again, thank you for letting me share, and I look forward to seeing everybody in Long Beach in March, and I'll kick it back to you, Tony. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Joseph Bladden. Again, do me a favor, put a 4 in the chat if you got some from the information. I didn't know he was going to share them amazing photos and stuff like that. But put a 4 in the chat if you enjoyed what Mr. Joseph Bladden, and it was almost as good as being there to seeing the photos. And you can just imagine the excitement just being in that environment, ladies and gentlemen, to immerse yourself in that environment, to spend time with people that are going the same direction you're going, the people that encourage you, hey, keep going. And then you get a chance to spend time with people, maybe just standing in the back of the room, and they might give you 1 or 2 nuggets. They say, you know what, that's what I need to do, and then you just go out there and do it. One of my guys, and he was on here earlier, but it looked like he had to drop off for whatever reason. Mr. Steve Lodge, that he lives in Costa Rica, and he's on our morning motivational calls, and he was having some challenges in the business. I'll share this with you, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Sally Mary, and then she and I are gonna finish the rest of the training. Um, but Mr. Steve Lodge is a guy on my team that he had been having some struggles as far as building his business, and I met him. I sponsored him about 7, 8 months ago, but I met him for the first time at the international convention, and it was great spending time with him and everything. And he was just talking about how much he had learned, and now he knows exactly how to pique interest and how to follow up and everything else. And he did what most successful people do. He went out right away Well, I mean, he didn't wait till he got back to Costa Rica, got back, right away at the airport. He was sharing the information about what he heard and how to do it the right way. And just asking people what do you know about? I mean, what are you doing anything with gold and silver? Just bringing up, and of the four people that he was sitting at the same table with, uh, two of the people left, but one guy in particular was really intrigued by, he said, "I'm not doing anything with gold and silver," and he just putting his money in the bank, And Steve said, "Well, that's probably not the best thing," and he asked him, would you be open to a way to be, even buy fractional silver and gold? And so what Steve did at the airport, ladies and gentlemen, the guy said he was open to getting some more information. Rather than just sending him the video and follow up, he opened up that 9-minute video and let the guy watch the video at the airport. Before they got on the plane, they were both going to Costa Rica. And 6 minutes into the presentation, the guy said, "Hey, do I need to look at the rest of it?" He said, "I'm convinced. I'm in. I mean, I'm ready to get started." So the guy signed up at the airport for the $5.99 legacy package. Okay, so that alone just shows you what happens and how confident and the belief level goes to another level. Because prior to that, Steve would have not been that guy because he's an introvert. He would have not been that guy. But because he opened up his mouth and shared that information, what he did not know, the guy he was talking to was a 37-year-old chiropractor, okay, that was pretty well off, okay? And what Steve did not know was that uh, the guy started asking him questions about the sound money wallet, and he really didn't understand all the ins and outs. So when they got, and they was talking about it on the plane, so when they landed in Costa Rica, uh, Steve asked me, could I give the guy your information because he wants to know about the sound money wallet. I guess he wanted to put some money in there. And what Steve did not know, when the guy called me, he had already moved over $100,000 into that sound money wallet. And for those of you that have the legacy membership, you get paid 1% of everything they move over in the metal that they bought. He put over 100,000 in gold, ladies and gentlemen. So that means that Steve made over $1,100 in gold off of that one something. Now he already made $80 in instant gold pay, but now he had another $1,100 in gold for just sharing it with one individual. And the next day, the guy put some more money in there. So just know that that one guy made him over $2,000 in just 2 days. Okay. Put a 5 in the chat if you want to have that kind of story for yourself. Put a 5 in the chat if you wouldn't mind an extra 1,000, extra 2,000 show up, all because you open up your mouth and you realize you had a miracle in your mouth. Okay? You heard Joseph Latin say it. He signed within 3 days of him getting back, he signed up somebody. Again, the excitement and enthusiasm that happened because he went to an international convention. And here's what I want to share with you guys. There's a lot more guys out there. There's a lot more ladies out there that are waiting for what you have. And one of the things you're going to hear me say it over and over again. You have a miracle in your mouth in 7K Mellors. What you have your hands on is something special. I mean, not only will we be the first network marketing company with precious metals that partner up with a mint, provide the silver and gold, and start minting their own silver and gold coins. But now, what they announced a couple of weeks ago, that is a game changer, ladies and gentlemen. There's no reason in the world why you shouldn't be able to get folks now to get on board, if nothing else, to be able to design and mint their own coin. Put a 5 in the chat if you believe that's a cool thing. For people, for everyday, ordinary people, I now can design and mint my own coin. I don't have to go through the government. I don't have to get licenses. I don't have to put up, like if you do it at a mint, it's $350,000 up front to do 1,000 coins at a mint. But now, because I am a member of this amazing company, I now can design and mint my own coins. And I can even mint some cooler than the ones Joe had, and they were pretty cool. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, ladies and gentlemen. But you got to understand you have a miracle in your mouth. But you got to open up your mouth and start sharing. Okay? And here's what I'm gonna encourage you guys to do. I want you to go back to the people that have already said no to you and tell them, hey, just oh, by the way, I just want to know if you're ever interested in designing and minting your own coins, copper or silver. Let me know because our company is now doing that for the members. If you those of you who want to learn how to sign up some more people that have already said no, I would go back and have a conversation because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm giving you guys the answers to the test. Some of the people that I cannot tell you how many people that told me no over the last several years when I went back with the fact that hey, if you ever open again to coming on board just so you can design your own coin for fundraisers for whatever the case may be, give me a holler. And I just said real nonchalant like, and then I try to get off the phone. And then said, well, what do you mean, John? And then now the door is open. So again, I'm giving you the answer to the test. I'm going back to the same people because you're playing with house money. They already said no. And said, oh yeah, by the way, I just got back from an international convention a couple of weeks ago, and they did something amazing where now, as a member, I can design and mint my own coins and have them in my hand within a week's time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a game changer. I mean, just the fact you can design and mint your own coin, that's a game changer within itself. But to be able to have it in your hand within a week, because most of the time for doing something like that, you're looking at months before you ever get the coin in your hand. But to do it and to have it in a week, that is a game changer. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. The next person I'm gonna bring on board to share about what she got, and then we're gonna do some back and forth as far as training. Uh, she was probably one of the most beloved people in the history of the company. Uh, she came on board now a little over 3 years ago, but in that point of time, ladies and gentlemen, she's impacted thousands of people and one of the most recognizable people in the history of the company, and is the ultimate team player. Help me welcome to the Zoom to share about what how this convention impacted her life. Top producing copper, soon to be bronze. Sally Merritt, take it away.
Tony, you certainly know how to humble a person. Thank you. I accept and receive. See, even I'm learning. Um, Thank you everyone for being here with us. You know, what's really interesting about this moment is that you are someone who really believes in the movement that 7K is doing. Remember the primary mission, which is to put gold and silver as in the hands of people who need it most. So remember that mission. Now, what I'm going to share with you guys is my biggest takeaway from having to have gone. And let me do this real quickly. Okay, I'll make sure you guys are able to see. So the thing that Tony says, you know, when you go to convention, it is really it is really something that builds you. And when you're building you, you're building your business. Let's talk about my top takeaway. You know, and this is a combination of listening to what Josh Anderson had shared, Zach Davis had said, Madiba, Blake, Tony, and something that Roger Ball had said in one of the breakouts. And so I'm a bit of a puzzler, and so I take what everybody has to share and then I make it my own. And Tony talks about that in a way where he says, master the mundane, right? And become brilliant in the basics. So this is how I do it. So one of the things that I've learned is in sharing 7K medals. When you're sharing 7K medals, you need to make sure you have a solid why. Make sure you have your why written out. To simply say, you know, my why is my children, that's not good enough. You need to make sure you say, my why is my children because I want them to be able to go to school and not worry about having to get a job so that they can simply focus on their education. Make sure you have a full, solid, written out why. And so let's say I want to be able, you know, I'm doing this why for my husband, my wife, my partner. Okay, why is that important? Because I want to be able to retire them so that they don't have to worry about getting up in the morning and working. So you make sure that you have a solid why. So with that said, when you're sharing and you're talking to people, you need to make sure what your why is, because it makes you very, very compassionate to other people. It brings your heart forward. And when your compassion and your heart is forward, your impact becomes very influential, which means your share becomes meaningful and it has purpose. Second thing you need to do is make sure you think of your happy place so that what you smile. There is a lot to say about the chemical reaction that happens in your body when you're talking to people, especially when you're sharing a very important message, when you have a smile in your face. If you're having a bad day, go home, sit down, meditate, or do the thing that you do that brings you joy and happiness. For me, it's getting on my motorcycle and vrooming around the city, and then I'm ready, I'm refreshed, and I go and talk to people. Whatever it is that makes you happy, that brings you joy, go do that. And also, if you're not able to do that, but you still need to be able to talk to someone, think of your happy place. So that it brings you to an easier path to smiling. So make sure you smile. Third is read the room. What do I mean by read the room? If someone is, let's say they're at a gun event, and let's say you're at a gun event and gun show event, and you want to share with people about stacking gold and silver, relate it back to the event that you're at. Hey, I see that, first ask them about them, right? So it's like I said here, get to know your audience, be interested in them versus being interesting, as in sharing too much about you and your why. This is not the time where you share your why and about you. This is where you take the time and get to know someone about them. Whether you're standing in line, right? Real scenario. I was standing in line the other day, and the gentleman was complaining about how he just paid $1.37 for one apple. And he was just saying about how not even a year ago, that same apple, for the same price, he was able to get 3 apples. And he said in order for him to get those apples, he had to, not only did he had to turn in a coupon for groceries, he had to give them his phone number. And he was complaining about that. And then I said, hey, wouldn't it be, how would you feel if I was able to show you something and share something with you that would help reduce the process of thinking whether you're going to buy groceries or put fuel in your car? And so that's just an example because you got to know them. So my point in that is they're struggling with having to pay $1.37 for one apple. So another one, I was just at a tribalist prepper event over the weekend, and I made an error because I didn't think about this. I didn't think about the room. I just decided to share something with people. Let's go back to the part where if you're inviting someone to a Zoom, no, let me dial back. If you're going to share a video with someone, let's take for example what Tony shared about Steve. What Steve shared, that was the most perfect example that of a success of someone just coming out of convention. He literally took the 3-step process that was taught in convention. And this is something that the Canadians have been doing, and has been very, very successful. Asking the question, hey, are you doing anything with gold and silver? And then the second thing is, I don't like to say word if I send you this video. I rather do an assumptive close approach. So I say, hey, when I send you this video, I would love to know, do I text it to you or do I email it to you? Right. And then the third is, and then you just, well, the first step is, hey, are you doing anything with gold and silver? Second step is shut up, be quiet, let them share. Right. And this is the point where you get to learn about them. And then the third is having to send the video to them. Hey, what's the best way to send you this video? Now, know the video you're sharing with them and make sure it's a video that you want to share with them so that it's relatable to the person. right? But if it's just a split moment like that, like at the airport, the best video to send is the video that you like the most, because it's easier to share with someone if it's something that you like. So you don't have, especially if it's a stranger, because it's easier for you to share it. But if it's someone that you know, you need to make sure. So let's going back on this weekend. You need to make sure that you're sharing a video that's pertinent to that event. The video I have shared was the 9-minute video, and that 9-minute video was a difficult video to have shared at that moment, because people weren't in there to try to make money, to be in business. They were there to find a way to make sure that they keep their monies secure and safe. And that 8-minute, 33-minute video, the new video that we have, is very salesy. It's it talks more about getting the business going. That's great for, in general, if you're sending that to everyone. That's great. But if you're on a very specific situation, if someone is struggling or at an event like that, you need to make sure that you're sharing the right video. And then the fourth is, when your audience has questions, only answer the questions they ask, if they do have questions, right? So to sum this up, put this all together, make sure that when you go and invite someone, whether it's to a Zoom or to a video, make sure you think of your why, right? Think of your why. Make sure it's a solid why. It isn't a general why. It's a very specific why. And then make sure you have, whether you're happy or not happy, make sure you're smiling, because, Coca-Cola has become famous for that smile for a reason. And then two, get to know your person. Get to know a little bit more about them. And then fourth, when your audience has questions, only answer the questions they ask. Or if they ask you a question about, hey, ask you about God's money, tell me about God's money, you don't run and talk about how, oh yeah, we have this Vault Max, we have this Sound Money wallet. No. Go back and why, know why you have that pin. So for me, when somebody asks me, oh, tell me about God's money, and then I talk about what Robert Kiyosaki said in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki, gold is God's money, fiat is the government's money, and crypto is the people's money, and we focus on God's money, gold and silver. And then third, have a third party validation, especially when they have a question that you can't answer, or even if it's a question. This is something that Tony taught me. Even if it's a question that you already know the answer to, it is very important to make sure you have your third party validation. And so these are the things that was constantly repeated. This was the theme that was constantly repeated at all 6 takeaways, breakouts. And make sure, and when you do find your third party validation, you need to make sure that you let them know ahead of time so that they are available for you. So coming into convention, I love what Joseph just shared, and it was literally this: celebrate and clap for others until your time comes. And this is something that Tony taught me. And also, there's something about exposure. So I wouldn't have known all these things without having to have gone to an event. And even if it's something that you have learned, do you see how this could serve you as a great reminder on how, what you're doing? It's a great validation that what you're doing is great, and you're on the right path. And plus, the excitement and the energy that people have that they share with you, isn't that something that's energizing? So, and this is something that Zach had shared, and this is something that several leaders have shared, and the first person I ever heard share this is Tony Hubbard. Oh wait, no, this is the wrong one. Oh my God, I put the wrong thing on here. But you know who does say this though? Zach Davis does say this. I'm sorry, that wasn't what it's supposed to be up there. I should have read that first. But it's Zig Ziglar's statement about, when you help enough people to get what they want in life, you simply get what you want in life. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. Although that is pretty funny, because that's something that it's Zach Davis said something like that. Now, So we are not in the convincing business, right? And this is something that I had ran into recently. What if someone doesn't want to watch the video or attend the Zoom? And so there was a group of us talking, and Josh was there, and Josh said, well, then share with them the wealth strategy. And a couple of people were saying that too. And so, and plus Tony, taught me this, and he's taught a lot of us this, is that when you hit a rank of copper, you want to make sure that you learn how to confidently share the wealth strategy. Now, let me just show you guys something that I have made, and this is something that I have shared from having to have done other MLM companies. And I will honestly tell you guys that this is the first time where I have made money. And not only I've made money, but other people that I have invited come in and made money. And plus, it isn't really about just making the money. It's the thing that awards you when you have the money in your hand. And so let's say you don't have a computer. Well, let's say you're out in an event and there's no power. Well, simple. Print it out, right? I have this book, and it's a presentation book. And I've used it at gun shows. So Amy have seen me use this. Ashley have seen me use this. A bunch of other people who have done events with me have seen them. So this is what I do. I have it printed, and I just do the wealth strategy. Whether you're doing a Zoom with them, right, so they can show you, or you're in person, you just share them the wealth strategy. That's literally all you have to do. And now let me go back to, and this is something that I got from Amazon. And so there's that. And then this is something that Tony taught me, that we're not in the convincing business. So if someone is still of their, if you have to convince them against their will, they're still going to be of their opinion. Here's the thing: if your goal is to just get them in the business and have them be a customer, and it's convincing them that gets them there, that's fine. But just know that they may or may not stay. And that's okay. If your goal is to just get them in, that's fine. But if you're looking for business partners and community partners, you need to make sure that they know what they're getting into. Now, in improving our training, we need you. So we need you to provide ideas for future training and what your challenge. And one of the ways that we could figure out what ideas we can have is by simply letting us know what your challenges are and what you feel that you need. So with that said, this is where I'm going to bring one of our top recruiters in the organization. That was really cool to watch him come on stage and receive his award. And here's another thing too, guys. This man talks about, he recognizes the sacrifice that people in the business do, because he himself does the sacrifice. I will tell you this, and I hope that you do not become this person. I'm going to give you this example because I want you guys to be better, right? One, there were several people, and like Tony says, there are always going to be haters. This person was like, oh, Tony brought his car because he's showing off. No, the man drove the car. Why? Make this make sense to me. Why would someone drag their daughter in a car for over 15 hours driving across the country just to show off? Does that make sense to you? Does that make you money? No. This man is so dedicated to the work. He literally drove his car from his home all the way to Florida with his daughter in the car, so that we can all celebrate, so that it's your marketing tool. So next time, if you happen to have the pleasure of being around this car, it isn't about him. It's about you and helping you build your business. Now think of it this way. If you have a picture with the car, just like Joseph Latin did, isn't it easier to say, look, we give away cars. Check it out. And I work with the top, one of the top earner, top recruiter, and the person who won this car. Now tell me, how does that sound? With that said, that's the end of my share. And what I'd like to do is bring Executive Gold Tony Hubbard back. And I do want you guys to come forward, raise your hand. One, if you have any questions. Two, if you have any ideas. And three, what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna take on the leader, take on what Tony leads us to do, and I'm just here for support. So with that said, Tony, thank you for letting me share, and thank you, Joseph and Alan, for giving your share, and Chris, as always, exceptional share on the wealth strategy presentation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, put a 3 in the chat if you got some valuable information from Miss Sally Mary. where she got a chance. Can you tell she a little excited because she was at the international convention? I mean, she made some sacrifice things. I'm not gonna go into detail, but she made some sacrifice in order to be there. But I don't know any very successful person in the network marketing space, and I've gotten a chance to spend time and interview over 100 different leaders that made 6 figures, 7 figures, and even 8 figures. I don't know any of them that didn't make some kind of sacrifice to get to where they were. Matter of fact, most of the leaders that I heard that I got a chance to talk to in my first company, they talked about how they had to sacrifice and homeless and things of that nature. But once they got to the point that they were making 6 figures and multiple 6 figures, they all said the same thing. If I knew it was going to be this good, I would have worked 10 times as hard in order to get there. And I hope that that's the same case for each and every one of you guys. That being said, we're going to wrap it up by just talking about and open up the floor for Q&A for maybe some of the areas you guys are having a struggle in. One of the areas that myself and Sally Mary talked about was handling objections and stuff. Put a two in the chat if you still have some challenges as far as handling objections when people bring up different questions. I know I talked with Mr. Mark Mills this morning, and he was showing me some of the responses he had gotten once he was piquing interest and stuff like that. So put a two in the chat if that's an area you have a challenge in. Once you present it, then they come up with an objection. Well, here's the first thing I want you guys to understand. Objections are buying questions, okay? So one of the worst things you can do when someone comes up with an objection is to be offended by it, okay? Don't be offended by, if a person comes up with an objection, because you got to look at it from this perspective. That's a buying question. But that person is telling you, if they come up with an objection, say, I want to do it, but here's where I'm hung up at. I would love to come on board, but here's where I got a problem. Here's where I have a mental block. And so they ask you, hey, I saw the movie Tom Cruise when he Jerry Maguire. Put a 3 in that. You saw that movie, Jerry Maguire, with Tom Cruise. One of the most famous lines in that movie is Tom Cruise trying to help out the athlete to come on board and make sure that he was going to be an agent. And he would say, help me help you. Help me help you. And here's what I want to understand. When people come up with an objection, that's what they're saying. Help me, help me help you. I want to come on board, but I need your help, Here's the obstacle right here. And if you just remove this obstacle, I'm free to come on board. So the first thing I would say, as far as handling objection, just know, one of the first things you do not need to do is get offended. Okay? You do not need to get offended. And you got to understand that when they come up with an objection, that they want to come on board, but here's the thing they stop me. And if you can help me overcome this barrier, overcome this hurdle, then I'm coming on board. I'm going to do this thing. And so that's the first thing you got to write down. Objection. What they're saying. Number one, do not get offended. Number two, understand that objection is what all they're saying that I want to come on board. But here's my issue. Here's my obstacle. Here's the thing that stops me from giving you my credit card, from giving you my debit card right now. And so you get very good at handling objection. Ladies and gentlemen, your income will increase, your team will increase, and your ability to close will increase. Well, how do I do it? Let me give you a simple one. And then I'm encouraging you to continue on this skill. Let me give you a simple one that has helped tremendously over the years. The first thing I use when handling objection. I want you to write down these 3 words. Feel, felt, found. F-E-E-L, F-E-L-T, and F-O-U-N-D. Feel, felt, found. Okay? Feel, felt, found. When a person comes up with an objection, again, I'm not going to get offended. I realize the fact that, hey, they want to come on board, but here's what I'm dealing with. And so feel, felt, found is an amazing, simple way to handle objection because number one, it shows empathy. When I say I understand how you feel, people are more likely to do business with you if you're not insulting them and talking bad about them, talking bad about their mama, their dad, or whatever, saying how stupid they are because they brought up a certain objection. And I'm gonna share this with you guys because I've dealt with thousands of objections over in my 21-year career. Never mind, I've dealt with thousands of objections. I've helped hundreds of people come on board in my 21-year career. Just in 7K, I've helped over 500 people come on board. So all that means I've had way more know you, and I've got real good at handling objections. Okay. Now keep in mind, an objection is not. Keep in mind, I'm not in the convincing business. You're not in the convincing business. And for a person gives you an objection, they're not saying no. They're just saying, hey, this is what I need to do. Okay, because a person says no, I mean, I'm not going to try to convince you because the person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. Okay, I'm mastering the art of persuasion. I am not mastering the art of convincing. What's the difference? When I'm convincing a person, I'm getting it. The reason why some of you don't like handling objection because in your mind you're trying to convince that person to come on board, and that's not the case. Convincing, here's the difference. Convincing means I'm trying to get you to do something you don't want to do for my benefit. That's convincing. Okay? I'm trying to get you to do something you don't want to do for my benefit. Not your benefit, my benefit. Persuasion, here's the difference. Persuasion, I'm helping you do something you already want to do. You've already stated you want to do, but it's for your benefit as well as my benefit. That's persuasion. I have no issue with doing that because I'm helping a person do something they've already stated they want to do, and it's for their benefit as well as my benefit. Okay? Once you look at it from that perspective, you got no problem handling objection and doing it in the right way because it creates a win-win-win scenario. Let's talk about feel, felt, found. How does that work? Let's just say somebody comes up and they say, "Hey Tony, I would love to do it, but I ain't got $149. I ain't got $600." So a real simple feel, felt, found goes like this. You know what, Joe? I understand how you feel. And there are many people that when they first saw the opportunity, they felt the same way. But here's what they found. If they didn't come up with a solution or find a way to come up with $150 or $600, they were still going to have that same problem a year from now, 2 years from now. So I'll say, you know what, Joe, do you think you can become creative enough to come up with $150? And I'll just leave it right there. I understand how you feel. Now, here's another way you can do it. If when you got started, if $150 was an issue for you, if $600 was an issue for you, then your feel, felt, found is telling your story. You know what, Joe? I understand how you feel. When I first saw it, I knew it could be amazing for me, but I didn't have the $600. But here's what I found. If I didn't become creative enough to find a way to come up with that money, I was going to have the same issue 6 months from now. I was going to have the same issue a year from now, and I didn't like being in that situation. So I sold some stuff. I did whatever I had to do, and I came up with the money. I put it on a credit card, whatever the case may be, and now I'm so glad I did. Now I have hundreds of thousands of dollars with the gold and silver. Now I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars, all because I found a way to make it happen. Feel, felt, found. What if it wasn't an issue for you to come up with the money, but you know somebody else? That was their story. That's why you want to get real good at learning other people's story, because in the feel, felt, found, you can use somebody else's story. An example was Pastor Sharon Vault. She came on board the first year of the company. She was one of the top producing bronze associates for 3 to 4 years. had never done network marketing before. And when she joined, ladies and gentlemen, she was 72 years young. Okay, 72 years young. So what if you say, you know what, I would love to do it, but I feel like I'm too old. I say, listen, Amy, I understand how you feel. And many people that were in their 70s, they felt the same way. But here's what they found. Pastor Sharon Vaughn, she was 72 when she first got started, but she had a financial challenge. And Social Security wasn't doing. Her husband had died, and she was getting ready to get a job at Walmart. But she found out that if she didn't do something different, meaning this business, she was going to have to be a greeter at Walmart for the rest of her life. And because she did that, within 2 months' time, she was making more than her Social Security and her retirement combined. Feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. Many people in your situation, or if that's your story, I felt the same way. But here's what I found. The reason why that's a proven way to handle objections. Number one, it shows empathy, ladies and gentlemen. One of the worst things you can do is insult that person because they're in that situation. I cannot tell you how many times, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, put a 2 in the chat if you felt the same way, but you didn't let it come out. I cannot tell you how many times when somebody would give me an objection and I was tempted to say, you know what, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. I was talking to Mark Mills this morning, and he showed me some of the objections that came to him with this one guy because he didn't understand how our product works. He was talking about what he had in Prime America. It's been hundreds of times, ladies and gentlemen, that when people give me an objection, I was so tempted to say, you know what, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard a human being say. But I can't say that. I can't say that. But hey, listen, I understand how you feel. Many people felt the same way. Here's what we found. Okay? That's how we handle objection. Now, that being said, I'm going to open up the door. I'm gonna ask everybody to unmute. And anybody got any challenges that you had with objection and stuff, and let's go ahead and address those. Matter of fact, I might even let Sally Mary address it. So, anybody got anything they want to say? Add to, take away, or you got a question about an objection you ran into and you want to know how to handle that.
Well, Tony, real quick, if I'm not first or if somebody else did, I was
Sure.
talking to a kid earlier today, and he's like, "It's a pyramid scheme," and I'm just like,
So how did you handle that?
well, because I bought some products from him yesterday,
Okay.
and he wanted me to mint a coin for him, and I'm like, well, if it's a Ponzi scheme, why do you want me to mint a coin for you?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I just tabled it for right now. So it's just, in the like I was talking earlier today about Mediba, planting the seeds, watering the field, planting seeds, planting seeds, planting seeds.
Correct.
I know in the next, I want to say probably the next 30 days, some of the folks I've talked to on TikTok alone are going to be actually coming on in that space just because some of them are actually truly believing what I'm telling them now.
Okay.
Just
Let me say this about the pyramid thing because I know that's something that stumped me early on in my network marketing career. I actually look forward when somebody say pyramid now because I know how to handle it. I don't get all tensed up. I don't get mad. I don't act like they talked about my mama. I don't do that. So, and it's a couple different ways you can handle it. Eric Warray, what he teaches, that when somebody uses the word pyramid, what he does is say, so you got a story. I mean, tell me your story. Because most of the time when people use the word pyramid is because they've had a negative story about being involved in network marketing. Okay? All right? Sometimes I'll use an education piece. Because here's the truth of the matter, and it's something you guys can all write down. Most of the time when people use the word pyramid, they wouldn't know a pyramid if they were standing in Egypt. Okay? They wouldn't know a pyramid if they were standing in Egypt. But here's another way you can handle it. I mean, what Eric Worre does, he said, okay, so you got a story, and he would get them to tell their story, and then say, well, if you're honest with yourself, did you really give it your best shot? Did you really give it your best effort? And then he said, hey, it's not like that, but I'll be willing to work with you and help you create another story. Uh, my mentor taught me early on in my network marketing career. He said, he would just educate people. He said, well, listen, I understand how you feel. Many people, when they saw our business model, because it looks like a pyramid, they felt the same way. But here's what they found. I mean, every solid business structure is shaped like a pyramid. Okay, if you look at corporate America, at the top there's a CEO. Underneath that, there's a board of directors. There's upper level management. There's lower level management, and then there's all of us down here that do the work. If you draw it out, what does that look like? It'll look like a pyramid. Look at the church you go to. You got the pastor, you got some assistant, and then you got deacons, and then you got all the lay members. If you draw it out, what does it look like? It look like a pyramid. Every solid business structure since the beginning of time is shaped like that. And then another thing you can educate on is this. When it comes to pyramid, there's two different types. There's legal and then there's illegal pyramid. Okay, an illegal pyramid is when money is exchanged, but no goods or services are rendered to the end user. That constitutes an illegal pyramid. The government will shut you down. A legal pyramid is when money is exchanged, but either goods or services are rendered to the end user. That constitutes a legal pyramid. And then I would say, hey, and if you really have a problem with that, and you work a 9 to 5, you need to quit your job next week. Because that is the biggest pyramid on the planet, corporate America.
Hey, Tony, can I help out in here too?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So, I learned, Tony's learned from all the greats, and I was just having this conversation with Sally Mary earlier today. Tony's learned from all the greats, and I've learned from Tony. But I really like the book Eric Worre, GoPro, by Eric Worre, and one of the things that he kind of jokes about in there when somebody says this is a pyramid scheme, you say, yeah, you want in? We can make a lot of money. Somebody's going to go to jail, but we're going to make a lot of money before that happens. So that's not really where we want to go with those folks, but you could have fun with it, and that kind of lightens the mood a little bit. But as Tony was saying, and this comes from the GoPro book, pyramid schemes are illegal, and I wouldn't be a part of anything illegal. And just pause right there. Pyramid schemes are illegal. I wouldn't be a part of anything that's illegal. And then wait for them to talk.
Perfect.
That's just an option. And as always, when you talk pyramid, have them describe what a pyramid is.
There you
A
go.
lot of times,
That's another one.
a
Excellent.
lot of times they know the term pyramid scheme, but you could say you could act like I don't even know what you're talking about. So what's a pyramid scheme? Tell me what that is in your words, and let them describe it. And so, but the number one thing is, if you don't have a product, it's probably a pyramid scheme. If there's a product, and we've got the best product on the planet, gold and silver, been known throughout 5,000 years as a means of trade, man. I mean, that's people are just looking for excuses, and when we have a decent answer or even a joke, for some of the things that people say, it kind of helps break down that wall. Back to you, Tony.
Love it, man. I love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Again, anybody got any other questions, comments, add to, take away? That was a great one, there, Chris. I remember the first time I heard one of the top leaders in network marketing talk about it. Is this a pyramid? I mean, that guy said, "Hey, yeah, it's illegal, and we're gonna do time. We're gonna do about 3 to 5 years, but we're gonna make a couple $1 million before. Hey, I just need to know are you in, So again, I haven't had enough courage to go that route, but but just have fun with it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take it personal. All right, anybody else? before we wrap it up, we went a little over on time, but hopefully you guys got some value out of that. Looking at the report today, there's quite a few of you guys with a little extra effort. You can make that extra 250, 500, 1,000, you know. So I'll be available for the next several hours for 3 ways, whatever the case, presentation, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to end the call today with one of my favorite motivational quotes. Oh, Sally Mary, go ahead.
Before Tony ends, what I want to ask people again, you can't sit here and say, I'm not getting any help, I'm not getting this, I'm not understanding this. Remember, we asked you, what are your challenges? What are you know, what do you need help in? Please put it in the chat. Let us know what it is. And we formulate trainings around it. We're not in business by ourselves. We're in business together here. We're doing this together to uplift one another. And that's something that another takeaway that I got from going to convention. So you know, if you don't want to put it in the chat, you know, message me, text it to me. You know, you can do it now while Tony is closing the call. Thanks. That's it.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, again, I want to share with you guys one of my favorite motivational quotes at the end of the day, and it's simply entitled Follow Your Dream. Follow your dream wherever they may lead, and don't be distracted by less worthy deeds. Shelter it, nourish it, help it to grow, and let your heart hold it down deep where dreams go. Follow your dream and pursue it with haste. Life is too precious and too fleeting to waste. Be faithful, be loyal, and all your life through, the dream that you follow will keep coming true. Ladies and gentlemen, to borrow a phrase from Eric Warren, it is a stone cold fact that we have a better way. Now let's go out there and tell the world. Everyone have a great evening. God bless. Take care.